All right, hello everyone. Good morning and thank you for joining us with the AE Solar and HomeGrid and Sol-Ark Beyond the Battery webinar. Before we dive in, I just want to give a little bit more time to those that are joining so that way we can ensure that everybody gets a chance to listen in on such a great presentation. So we'll start in about 2 minutes. I'll be joining you guys back at 10:07.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so two solar panels walk into a bar on the wrong side of town, but they had to leave immediately because it was too shady.
Good one, Dad.
I think Pooya's heard that a time or two.
You gotta come up with an inverter one now.
Yes, yeah. Something about, AC DC. Yeah, I like it. Pooya, we'll have to think of something, right? Something creative. There's one guy in our office that's the pun master. Dylan Hillman, one of our guys there. He's brilliant, very sharp individual, and the puns. Pooya, when I was in the van with him, oh my God, we were driving from somewhere in Los Angeles area down to San Diego, and we're just cruising down the thing. And we kind of got in a roll, and they have an ad on TV where there's these two guys are sitting on the beach, and one of them is Snoop Dogg, and there's this other guy, and the other guy tries to rhyme with Snoop Dogg, and at the end he's like, starts making up jumbled words, and he goes, "Man, I ran out." Well, that was me, and
that was you. Yeah.
That was me and Dylan trying to pun, and he was so deep, he ran like 6 after I stopped, and I was like, oh my God,
That's awesome.
Yeah, Dylan's pretty amazing.
Dylan Rupp?
Hillman. Yeah, not Rupp. Not that Rupp isn't the funny guy in his own right, but no, Hillman's the pun master.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he's been doing it a long time, so he's kind of good at it, So like if you were to have some theme like electrical, watts, current, electrifying, whatever, he's got depth on that. He already knows he could go 10 deep, on anything electrical.
That's awesome. Yeah, we connect with him. Get some jokes for him.
Well, thank you again for everyone that's joining us. My name is Edgar. I'm with the AE Solar team. Today we are kicking off the second session of our Beyond the Battery series. We've teamed up with two powerhouses, HomeGrid and Sol-Ark. Today we'll be joined by HomeGrid and Sol-Ark to discuss how their products work together to create a better home system and also enabling a true whole home backup system. As a reminder, we will have a Q&A session following the presentation. You are more than welcome to submit your questions via the questions section located on the control panel at any point during the webinar. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible after the presentation. All right, so let's get it started. I'd like to introduce you all to David Parker and Pooya from Sol-Ark, and then we have Nick from HomeGrid. Without further ado, I'll pass it over to David, and we can get started.
Yeah, thank you very much, Edgar. We appreciate you, and we appreciate everybody who's listening. Pooya and I are with Sol-Ark, and so we're going to kind of go through a quick overview today, a little bit about who we are, very briefly, where we come from, and we'll talk about our current products, some of the products we've got coming, a little bit about how we contrast against some of the competition, and at the end, we'll highlight the features, advantages, and benefits, and we'll certainly kind of touch on HomeGrid as we go through as well. So very thankful to AEE and Edgar for inviting us, so thank you very much, and thankful for everybody who's here today. So without any further ado, I will show my screen, and get up here at the beginning. Yes, at the beginning. And do that. All right. Is that good? Puya, Edgar?
Oh yeah, that looks
Yes.
good.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So again, once again, a quick shout out to AEE Solar. Thank you very much for having us. Sol-Ark is born in Texas. We're Texans. It was started in 2013 by a group of engineers and some veterans. We do have a lot of veterans at the company, including myself. So we kind of have a little bit of a lineage to that, going back to the ownership structure and some of the founders. We've been growing like crazy year on year on year. We're in a large building in Plano, Texas now, and we're getting ready to move to Allen, Texas, which is just up the road from Plano, Texas. But we're moving out of 95,000 square feet and we're moving into 300,000 square feet. So kind of give you an idea of the growth that we're talking about. We have all of the engineering, final assembly, and support is out of Plano, Texas. Everybody on the team is in Texas. I'm just down the road from that Texas flag here. If you look at this map, in a little town called Austin, Texas. So I'm in Austin. The company headquarters are in Plano. I drive up to Plano all the time and do a lot of business out in the US West, which is my territory. We are open for visits and tours. If anybody is in near Texas or you're in Dallas and you want to stop by and see us, give us a little bit of a heads up. We'd love to have you come by. Why Sol-Ark inverters? Well, there's a lot of reasons why you would want to choose Sol-Ark inverters. If you're a homeowner, you get a lot of value for the inverters. If you're an installer, you get a lot of value for your homeowners. You get happy customers, as well as very efficient installation, very straightforward, an all-in-one design, and fantastic support. But there are a number of other reasons why you would want to choose Sol-Ark as well. The first thing that we did is keep ourselves agnostic. And by that, some of our competition that we have a lot of respect for, great companies, right? And they have solutions where there's a particular piece that goes with another piece and another piece and another piece. So they have a bill of materials with 5 or 6 devices, and that's a solution. And everything works together, but it doesn't work with anything else, right? And that's cool, right? There's a number of our competitors that do that. That's a fine model. They're making lots of money. They got smart guys. Our model's different. We wanted to be agnostic to where the Sol-Ark inverter was an all-in-one design, best-in-class technology, best-in-class speed, efficiency, et cetera, but the fact that if you want to use solar panels, you can use any solar panels you want. If you just watch, your voltage open circuit when you're hitting our MPPT strings. If you're a homeowner, ignore that last part. If you're an installer, you know what I'm talking about. The battery, we're agnostic on the battery. This is very important. We can handle any brand, type, or chemistry. So lead acid or AGM batteries for the old school audience, yes. Lithium ferrophosphate, yes. Lithium ion, yes. Some of the new sexy batteries, LTO batteries, fuel cell batteries, all these kinds of things, yes. Has to be 48 volt. There's just a basic electrical consideration. Same thing with the generator. When you get over to the generator, anything that's a 12240 generator, we're agnostic to. We just need a 2-wire start kit. So the fact that you can use any generator, any brand, any size, you can use a little generator that you got off of Harbor Freight, one of the little Hondas or Yamahas or something. You can use a mid-size generator. You can use a really big generator that sits on a 6-inch concrete pad on the side of the house. As long as you can get a 2-wire start kit on it, we don't care if it's a Kohler or a Century Pro or a Generac or this or that. We don't care. So it puts the homeowner and the installer in the driver's seat to create a solution in that area, in that territory, for that use case. And you can get any gear. In today's supply chain, that's a little bit of an advantage as well. You might be able to get this panel, but not that panel. You might be able to get this battery, but not that battery. Okay, so agnostic to everything is an advantage. We built in a lot of intelligence into the inverter. So when you're connected to the grid, we have things like time of use mode. We have peak shaving. These will directly save you money on your bill, whether you're a commercial customer or residential customer. We have grid sell. You can sell power to the grid, net metering agreement, rock and roll. We also have zero export in case you do not want to sell power to the grid. We put you in the driver's seat. There's a new trend these days called VPP, which stands for virtual power plant. And that involves a utility company in a particular area having their customers sign up to a voluntary program to allow the utility company to interact with their distributed energy system. So in the case of Texas, if I had batteries in my solar system and a Sol-Ark converter, I got maybe 30, 40 kilowatt hours of batteries. If ERCOT gets in trouble and I was signed up to a VPP program through my co-op, then they would come and take some of the electrons out of my battery. They wouldn't take it down below my state of charge where I put the floor at, maybe 20%, 30%, wherever I program it. So they won't violate the settings of your battery. But if my battery is 100% and it's a hot day in Texas and the grid is in trouble and I've signed up to the program, they'll take it from 100% down to 30%. They'll track those kilowatt hours and they'll pay me for it. It's another way to get paid as well as help the grid. It's kind of cool. It's a trend. That particular bullet, will increase across the United States over the coming years. And we're all set up for it. There's 2 industry protocol standards for that, IEEE 2030.5 and Open ADR. We have those built into the inverter so that that can happen if anybody so chooses. We're also off-grid capable. 5 millisecond transfer time. You have all of the benefits of the entire system. If the grid goes away, the battery, the generator, the solar panels are at your beck and call and at your disposal, as well as the user being in the driver's seat to program all of this depending on their particular. I got a time of use, I have a net metering agreement, I'm in a VPP program, and I have off-grid capability. Great, let's go. We also really pride ourselves on doing 2 things. We're Texans and we like to keep it super simple, high level, not simple, high level. I should say that properly. We like to keep things high level. So we focus on bringing the world best-in-class technology and world-class customer support. The best-in-class technology, I'm going to show you for the rest of this presentation. The world-class customer support is evidence right here. This is the Energy Sage website. We love this website. The has a lot of information about batteries, panels, inverters, racking, etc. We like the fact that homeowners and installers can leave reviews. And so quite simply, we've been on top of this list since the day I walked in the door, which is a couple of years ago. The day I walked in the door, I believe we had like 52 reviews, 52 5-star reviews. We now, and this is over 250 right now today. This is an old slide. It's about 255-ish, I think. So we are still on top. We've maintained the 5-star rating. We've gone from 52 to 255 over my 2-year span. We've never not been on top of this list. We love the companies that are below us listed there. But again, we pride ourselves on being on top. This is 224 people in this slide that have experienced our best-in-class technology and world-class customer support and went to Energy Sage and wrote us a glowing review. That's how it works. And just as an example, for installers listening to me and homeowners, we answer our phone 7 days a week. If you want to know who Sol-Ark is, call us on Sunday morning. We also do cool stuff. We're fun guys in Texas. We like fun and we like cool stuff. So we built this van. This is a Mercedes Sprinter van. We got solar panels on top. If you look in the second part of the photo, couple things. Way over on the right-hand side, you'll see that little red handle. Well, that whole thing slides out of the van. If you look on the other corner, you'll see that black and orange thing. That is this really cool, like industrial cable management system that our guys built into the van. It's just awesome. And then you can see the whole wall there. There are 4 in the photo on the left. There's only 3 panels. There's actually a 4th panel that wasn't on at the time we took the picture. And so there's 4 panels up there, and they come into, now you go to the right photo, they come into our 4-channel micro. The first thing they hit is our 4-channel micro that comes in as AC feeding the Sol-Ark. We've got some Savant stuff going on in there. Everything's live. We've got a refrigerator in there. We've got a little blender in case we do margaritas. We've got a coffee maker for the morning. And we've got TV screens for training. So this is a rolling power plant / training lab that we take around the country and do training. So we'd love to hook up with AEE Solar and bring this out and do some events. So we look forward to that. Puya, would you like to maybe kind of go over the highlights of our all-in-one design?
Sure.
Pretty clean.
Yeah, as you can see, it's an all-in-one solution. So, high voltage MPPT, this is a 15K that we're showing here. The high voltage MPPT, that's 3 separate MPPT inputs that can you can parallel 2 strings at each MPPT. So there's 9 ports there. And so you can do your paralleling at the inverter if you need to. And then, of course, the inverter itself is, a transformerless high frequency inverter, which is highly efficient, about 97% efficiency. Again, built-in battery charger. So the battery controller, 48-volt charge controller, that can handle, as David said, pretty much any chemistry. And as long as it's in the charging range of about 48, it's a 48-volt nominal or 51.2 LFP nominal, and then a charging range of about 62 volts to down to about 43 is the cutoff. And all that's built into the internally. Nice big battery lugs, terminals that can hold up to 4-aught wire, actually 4 conductors. So you actually, and it's got a separate breaker for each set of conductors, so you can actually divide up your battery bank a bit there. It helps with flexibility for sizing conductors. You have a load disconnect for the grid input. Now, what this means here is a grid disconnect. Actually, you would still need an external disconnect in terms of as your service disconnect, essentially, for the inverter, your PV disconnect. But internally, there's a mechanical relay, so there's no need for an ATS. As David pointed out in an earlier slide, the 5 millisecond UPS time. We're able to do that because we don't use an external automatic transfer switch. Here, the Sol-Ark is connected to the grid, and when the grid goes out of parameter and we need to disconnect from it, as per UL 1741, we open this relay and we're no longer connected to the grid. And in 5 milliseconds, we can start discharging the batteries and diverting PV power to the loads immediately without need for an external ATS. Arc fault monitoring is built in, ground fault detection is built in for PV side. And of course, as you mentioned, there's a generator integration for a tertiary power source. It really is best to not, you don't want to count on your generator running every day, but it is nice that you can use it. We have thousands of customers that are using generators every now and then in wintertime in Canada. We have customers in Alaska and places where there is, the days are getting really short, and they are able to use generators. There's basically 3 AC inputs internally on this system, as there is on the 12K and on the 8K, our previous flagship inverters. But this one, you got big terminals for being able to put in 2-aught, 3-aught, whatever, really much larger wires in there. On your neutral bus bar, there's box lugs on the neutral bus bar, box lugs on the ground bus bar for the generator, the load output, and the utility connection. And that pretty much kind of sums it up. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, no, thank you, Priya. That's awesome. Would you like to kind of keep on a roll and go over the 4 models that we have in production today?
Sure. The 5K 1P, if you look at this table going from left to right, the picture there is of basically a 8K or a 12K. The two will look the same externally. The 5K 1P, capable of 480 watts max AC power. You can connect up to 10,000 watts of DC solar to it. This is kind of a smaller, definitely a separate critical loads panel would be made for these. And generally for the 8K and 12K, that's the same case. They're not designed for whole home backup. You'd basically take loads from your main service panel, remove them from the main service panel and put them in a critical loads panel. And so the 5K 1P, the 8K is basically a more powerful version of the 5K. The 1P, by the way, is a actual one phase or single phase inverter. So it can actually be stacked, but it'll either do 120 or 240. And the 8K inverter is not stackable, but it's a split phase output. So you'll get two hot conductors and a neutral. Both of these come with the 5K 1P, and the 8K have a 5-year warranty with a option to purchase another 5 years and get a 10-year warranty. Then the 12K, that's where we get into that's our previous flagship. It was stackable. It really kind of revolutionized and brought us to where we are now. 9 kilowatts of output, capable of 13 kilowatts of DC PV connected via two different MPPTs, two separate MPPTs capable of about 6.5 kW each. As you can see, the PV voltage range is pretty much steady across the entire lineup. Maxed AC coupled input. You can AC couple the 8K, 12K, and 15K. And so the 12K, though, as I said, is stackable. So it got to the point where you could start doing whole home backup, but you had to stack it. A single 12K with 9 kilowatts, unless you're just talking about, powering a shed or a small cabin or something. If you're talking about a typical residential home in the suburbs or something, you'd still be creating a critical loads panel. But it came with a 10-year warranty, and as opposed to the 5-year warranty of the 8K. And it has and of course all of these are also outdoor rated, so they're NEMA 3R. You just want to keep the LCD screen out of direct bright sunlight, but otherwise rain, dust, wind, it's resistant to all that. And finally, we have our current flagship, the 15K, which really kind of opened the door up to more whole home backup, because not just because it has 15 kilowatts of backup power, because really with 15 kilowatts of backup power, you still need to do some load management, either through, but usually at this point, because the 15K has this other special characteristic, which is it has a 200 amp pass through. So the previous versions, the 12K, 8K, were limited in their utility connection in terms of the amount of power they could draw from the utility to about 60 amps. And so you could connect, you're only, if you're drawing from the utility, you're limited to 60 amps. The 15K, you can put your entire 200 amp panel on the load output of the 15K. And when you have grid available, the 15K can draw 200 amps from the grid to the 200 amp panel. Now, of course, when you go off grid, like when the utility goes down, you don't have 200 amps anymore. You have about 62.5. But now you're at least open the door to, you can go ahead and you don't have to make a whole new sub panel or a critical load panel. Instead, you can just connect directly to the main service panel from the load output of the Sol-Ark 15K, and then use some kind of load management device to reduce loads immediately when there's a utility failure. Again, comes with a 3-year warranty, 10-year warranty, and it is of course stackable. So you get quite a big system out of it, up to 12 systems on the 15K.
Yeah, thank you, Puya. We have a number of installations that have occurred where the homes are large, to where it's a, 5, 8, 10,000 square foot home that has a 400 amp panel. And then we've done some homes that are really large, that are 20,000 square feet, that have 600 amp panels. We did one that was like a super mansion, I guess, I don't know what they call it, that had 2 600 amp panels. And so as Puya mentioned, you can stack these 15Ks and you can stack up to 12 of them. And at 12, you've got 2,400 amps of pass through when you have the grid. And then as Puya mentioned, 62.5, and 62.5 times 12 is I don't know, 720, 740-ish, whatever that math turns out to be. But they are very considerable in what they can do for homes on the larger end as well as the smaller end. And as Puya was mentioning, this is what he was exactly referring to just seconds ago. You know, we try very hard to simplify things. So obviously a simplified example with just one solar panel. If that was 24 solar panels, you know, it might be 4 strings of 6 and they would come down and hit those MPPTs. There is a fine looking HomeGrid battery. Looks like there's about 5 modules there. So that's going to be what, 5 times 4.8, 20, 20, what, 24 kWh, something like that. Then the main electric panel, the only thing between the grid and the Sol-Ark on the grid inside is that fused AC disconnect. And also, as Puya mentioned, you know, the need for a critical loads panel in the context of our new inverter is optional. So this is exactly what he was referring to here on this this slide. Puya, you want to talk about PowerView? Give us a little information on that, please.
Sure. PowerView is our free and complementary monitoring and control platform for all our inverters currently. We have an app available, so there's an app version of this that goes on your iPhone or your Android phone, and also of course a web browser version. And both of them you can control, meaning you can make settings changes. If you're an installer and a customer calls you, you can make changes remotely. And then you can also look at a lot of graphs of production, voltage, temperature. There's even a nice, a very cool custom graph that you can like pick what parameters you want to see overlaid over one another. And this is what you would also use for your fleet management. If you're an installer and you have a lot of inverters out there with different customers, they can all show up on one list on PowerView, and it's very intuitive. You just click on the name of the plant, and then you name plant something special. You know, the person's name, their address, or some other funny thing, something unique. But of course, we keep track of them as well through serial numbers as well. But you could click on it and go to the individual plant where it has the customer profile that you fill out. You also use this to create plants. So now, if this does require the internet to operate, but PowerView in and of itself is not required to simply make a system function off-grid, for instance. So your off-grid customers, for instance, you might just go and set them up with this, and then if they're not going to have internet, you might set up an off-grid customer way out in the woods and get them up to date and make their settings right, monitor things for a couple hours, and then when you're happy with it, take away your hotspot, go away, and the system will run without this just fine. Very flexible system. We really enjoy using it. This is what we use here in-house as well to monitor customer systems.
Thank you, Puya. Yeah, it's an incredible tool. There's a lot of information that you have access to, full visibility, and as Puya said, kind of remote control. This is our rapid shutdown solution. Currently in order to fully enable, NEC compliant rapid shutdown, it's an integration between some things in the Sol-Ark itself and third-party devices. And between the integration in the Sol-Ark inverter and the third-party devices, they come together and form a complete solution. So specifically, you need something out on the array. And we are compatible with the Intelligent Solution, Tigo, Northern Electric Solution, and AP Systems, AP Smart devices, etc. So, this slide has the Tigo TS4s, as you can see over on the left side, kind of right there on the solar panels themselves. Well, that's going to come down, and they're going to come into the Sol-Ark, and they're going to get connected into our pins. And this rapid shutdown button is also going to come into the Sol-Ark, and it's going to get connected into pins 11 and 12. And so then between the Tigos, the buttons, and the connection into the Sol-Ark inverter, that forms the complete solution. So the diagram here kind of shows you how that works. There's also an onboard 12-volt power supply for the transmitter in the Sol-Ark, integrated in the Sol-Ark as well. So Again, integration in the Sol-Ark inverter and third-party devices combine to form our rapid shutdown solution. Now, having said that, we're going to talk further as we move forward here in the presentation. We do have a solution coming for rapid shutdown that is Sol-Ark solution. Speaking of which, Puya, you want to go over the 0900 pretty please?
Yeah, this is a pretty new device, but it's basically optimizing and rapid shutdown included all in one on our system, or from Sol-Ark that we've developed here. I don't believe it's going to use it's pretty new, but I don't think it's going to use an external transmitter. It basically is going to use a internal board on this on the Sol-Arks. It's engineered to communicate and work with the already existing components in the Sol-Ark. So you got the Solar Edge. It's sort of similar to Solar Edge, except that it works. The Solar Edge optimizer does not work with the Sol-Ark. Solar Edge is will only we can only send it only accepts a signal from a Solar Edge inverter. If you take a Solar Edge inverter out of a system and then neglect to take off the Solar Edge optimizers on the panel, and then connect those panels to the Sol-Ark, there's a high likelihood that it will not work. So the Solar Edge kind of locks you into just their product, and has a questionable rate or failure, has pretty decent failure rate, but still similar to their solution. We have our own in-house solution because people would want those, rather than maybe going to a third party. Third party, you got Tigo. And the reason why the Tigo works with us, and much like the AP Smart that's sitting next to it, is that you can, they provide their own transmitter. And in the previous slide, you saw that the transmitter was powered from an AC power supply, and then the working end of that transmitter went around the PV input wires that comes from this Tigo receiver, and that allows, so essentially that system is all sort of self-contained, and the Tigo provides the transmitter and the receivers, and as long as all that's working, the Sol-Ark accepts the power from the solar panels, and everything works like normal. And then the Sol-Ark is just a device that you would connect a rapid shutdown button. That could be any kind of switch that you like that's in a normally open position, and when you activate the switch and close the circuit, the Sol-Ark goes into a rapid shutdown mode, and stops providing AC output to the transmitter circuit, and the transmitter stops sending the keep alive signal, which then shuts down the solar panels, and there you meet your NEC code requirements that way.
Yeah, thank you, Puya. Well, again, the way Sol-Ark looks at these things, if you look at this slide, you see kind of a competitive analysis here, and you're going to see a little bit more of that as we move forward. So we like to put the other guys in columns, and then we have rows that are like, okay, what's the performance? So if you look at the max power for us is the 900 watts for single channel. You can get to 800 watts for the dual channel Solar Edge solution, which is proprietary, as Puya mentioned. If you do the Tigos, you can go from the TS4AF at 500 watts, and they double down on the A2F at 1,000 watts. Otherwise, it's 500, apples to apples. So the 900 is way best in class. The 1.8 watts, they tie us over on APS, good for those guys. It's low power consumption, that's best in class. And we have optimization, which Solar Edge does, but nobody else does in this slide. And then it's also panel level monitoring. So it's a 3-function device: rapid shutdown, optimization, and panel level monitoring. We should be bringing this out sometime in Q1. It's going to be awesome. So the Sol-Ark solution. So one of the things that we like doing, and our strategy involves this: we want to enable homeowners and installers and EPC firms that lean more towards maybe the C&I side of life, commercial, industrial type work, and of course all of our distribution partners. We want to enable everybody to say yes to just about any application you can think of with Sol-Ark hardware, because we're going to be expanding our product offering. So the first thing here, you want a new solar system that has a hybrid inverter and battery backup? Yes, get a Sol-Ark, DC couple your system, let's go. If you want a new solar system that's using microinverters and has no battery backup, we're going to do that. As Puya mentioned, it's looking like it's going to be later this year, but that is coming. So we're going to get into the microinverter business. Maybe you have batteries, maybe you don't, probably don't unless you want to AC couple. And then you get to the next bullet. You have a retrofit of an existing system that maybe already has microinverters or a solar edge or an SMA, and you want to bring in off-grid capability and you want to bring in batteries. Well, you can just AC couple to our inverters because it's transformerless. You can AC couple and DC couple. It's great, a lot of flexibility. So you can say yes. If you have off-grid installs, you want solar PV, batteries, and a generator, and that's it. There's no grid. You got to run your own power 24/7, 365. Yes, we live and breathe in that spot. If you want a more powerful hybrid inverter, as I mentioned before, you can stack the 15Ks. If you stack the 15Ks, 15,000 watts times 12, I mean, we're talking about what, 100, 150, two more, 180,000 watts of continuous AC. So, I mean, you can really get rocking with these things. The next bullet under that is the commercial solutions. So we are coming out with a 30 kilowatt inverter for 208 volt three-phase applications, and we're coming out with a 60 kilowatt inverter for 480 volt applications. More on those coming. They're coming out in March. We're going into the C&I space big time. In the bullet underneath that, if you want a tried and true Sol-Ark solution for optimizers with rapid shutdown and panel level monitoring, Puya just covered that for us. It's coming. That's another one that we can say yes to. And the last bullet here is that we are also going to come out with an EV charger. And our EV charger is going to be fast, efficient, powerful, kind of like the way we do it. And it'll also be bidirectional. And the bidirectionality is important. There are concepts called V to G and V to H, and that's vehicle to grid and vehicle to home. Basically, it's controlling the flow of electrons. You know, you pull your Ford F-150 into your driveway Friday evening, it's full because you drove home from work, but you were able to charge it at work. So basically you're topped off, you're at 95%, and you got 100 kilowatt hours on 4 wheels. Really awesome. So the grid goes away, you know, that next night there's a storm, the grid drops, you know, you don't have any power all weekend. You've got all that power in your truck and you want to be able to use it in your home. That's great. Later, the grid comes back and you could sell it to the grid if you had a VPP program. You know, you want to be in control of the flow of electrons. So that's what the bidirectionality does for you on an EV charger. That's going to be a lot of fun. Sometimes people ask us, hey, what about a generator? I have people coming in and say, you know what, I keep hearing about all this solar business, but I'm just going to buy a generator. And if the grid goes down, I'm going to fire that thing up. That is a valid option. There's nothing wrong with that option, right? I mean, people do it all the time. So if you look here on this slide, this is the contrast. It's a 14 kilowatt genset, the ATS from Generac. If you just, let's go down this first column, the upfront cost is about $5,000. The transfer time is 10,000 milliseconds. That's a big number, 10,000 milliseconds, but actually that's about 10 seconds, right? So count to 10 in your head, you know, it's not a long time, but it's certainly not fast. It's super noisy. It sounds like a plane trying to take off, and it has a lot of maintenance aspects. You've got a 5-year warranty. If you maintain it well and exercise it and oil it, do all those good things, you might get 10 years out of it. If you don't maintain it very well at all, you might get 5 or 4 years or less. A lot of people don't maintain them, and 2 years later they're wondering why it doesn't work. So the tax credit is 0. There's no tax credit here. The lifetime savings is a minus $14,000 with a little 1 next to it. So if we look down at the 1, the minus $14,000 is based on a 10-year maintenance plan at $200 a year plus fuel costs of $200 a day times 6 days a year over 10 years. So we're kind of simulating some use of the inverter there. Fuel costs of $200 a day, depending on if it's what the gasoline price is. That these days that might be high or low. The maintenance plan, that's about right. And the 6 days, we had to pick a number there. So that's what the 14,000 is. You add it all up, you're at negative 18.9. You go over to the solar side, panels, inverter, batteries, $26,500 almost. Transfer time, 5 milliseconds, super fast. 5 milliseconds, you blink your eye, and that's 5 milliseconds. The clock on the microwave doesn't even know 5 milliseconds happen, and the lights don't flicker. It's UPS grade. There is zero noise. There's no noise. There's no maintenance, virtually no maintenance to speak of. There's a 10-year warranty, 15-year expected life. The first thing you get is a tax credit. And if you look at the 32,000 there with a little 2, let's look at that note. That is based on an 85% offset of 50 kilowatt hours a day times 14 cents per kilowatt hour over the expected 15-year life, right? Kind of a basic offset, 14 cents. In Texas, that's a little bit high still, although prices are going up. In California, that's way low. So it kind of depends on where you're at in terms of that 14-cent number. But it's pretty fair. And the 15 years is a very realistic number. If you look over to the right side, the key takeaways are very simple. Free fuel, longer life, better ROI, faster transfer time, less noise, less maintenance. So that's the why when somebody asks about a generator. When we want to compete with the competition, I mentioned earlier that we like to do this with the columns and the specs. So this right here is one of our comparison charts. You can see our models are the first 4 columns, the 15K, the 12K, the 8K, and the 5K that Puya went over. I would point out very briefly that this is an older slide. The 5K column is not the 5K 1P. So just kind of ignore that. This particular column is currently out of stock and we're selling the 5K 1P. So I apologize for that. Then we have Generac here, SolarEdge, Energy Hub, Solution. We've got the Panasonic Darfon, we've got the Enphase IQ7 Pluses, and we've got the Tesla Powerwall 2s. So, you know, the top 1/3, 2/3 of this slide, these are specifications that we put in our data sheet. The other guys put in their data sheet. Has to do with efficiency, has to do with power, has to do with you know, available power, continuous power, battery efficiency, etc. When you get down to the bottom of the slide, below the warranty row, you can see the check mark starting on the first column. Well, these are simply features, right? The logic of the slide at the top, if something's green, it's technically out in front. If something's left white, it's kind of in the middle, it's neutral. And if something's highlighted red, it's bringing up the rear, it's lagging. When you get down to the bottom 1/3 of the slide, excuse me, it's simply a white check mark that's you either have it or it's a red X that you don't have it. So it's just a feature. If you look at the slide, I mean, it kind of speaks for itself if you just look at the colors. But we pride ourselves on the efficiency and the advantages listed over to the right. We have the fastest transfer time. We have 93% efficiency. We've got fantastic power both on the continuous and the surge side. Again, best in class. We can do AC to DC charging that's fast. We have a super easy install, which is not actually captured on this chart. And then when you get down to the features, you know, it kind of captures what's going on there. And at the bottom is our favorite 3 that we're agnostic to everything. So we're agnostic, we're fast, we're powerful. This is how we compete with the other guys. So here's a more specific comparison. And this is a cost comparison against SolarEdge and Enphase. You can see the gear listed here and the prices. If you look over to the corner, we like to keep our slides like this. There's a manufacturer's that the pricing is either from the Alt-E store or EcoDirect. So the Alt-E store is a great distributor. They're online. EcoDirect is also kind of an online distributor out of California. Anybody can go to ecodirect.com right now or Alt-E store right now. So that's kind of where this stuff gets put together. You can see the pricing on the bottom, and you can see how simple the bill of materials is, you know, for the Sol-Ark solution with 15K inverter, 20 kilowatt hours of batteries, a rapid shutdown solution, the AC fuse disconnect that you saw earlier on the slide, that comes in at $22,265. And then you can see the numbers over as you move to the right. Arguably, you're going to get, you know, what do you get for this solution? Well, let's look at that. What you're going to get feature-wise is better power, more speed, more advantages, the ability to connect to a generator, et cetera, et cetera. That's what you're getting for your money. So you have a lower price and you have a better solution. And I would argue that you have better support from Sol-Ark than any one of these other guys. So here's a new roadmap. Here's what's coming. This is super exciting. This is a quick snapshot of the 30 kilowatt inverter. This thing should be shipping with all ULs and, God willing, CEC listed, CEC PCS, California Rule 21, all the SGIP registered, all the good stuff for California, which requires some, state and regional certifications after you finish the ULs, and HECO for Hawaii. So anyway, this is the Sol-Ark. The Sol-Ark 30K and the next slide, which is the 60K, these are native 3-phase inverters. So they have nothing to do with residential. This inverter is 208 volt 3-phase and it's 30 kilowatts. True to Sol-Ark form, it has a number of advantages. It's super fast. You can AC couple, you can DC couple, you can stack the units, et cetera, et cetera. And it's made for the commercial market. This inverter is made for pharmacies that want to protect their medicine if the grid goes down. It's made for little gas stations and convenience stores that want to do two things, perhaps keep the beer cold if the grid goes down, and keep the lights on over the gas pumps and continue to be able to dispense gasoline and take people's credit cards. It's very easy to keep a commerce going on a fuel station, a gas station. Keeping the inside running with the coolers, that's one thing. You got to do the math on the electrical draw from the coolers. But keeping the lights on over the gas pumps and keeping the little pump running and keeping the little thing electrified to take your credit card, super easy. So they can continue their commerce even if the grid's down. So, imagine the grid's down, you look down the street, it's totally dark and one gas station's all lit up and you're like, whoa, I wonder what's going on there. You pull in there and gas up your car. That's what we can do for them. Mini marts, food marts, anybody that's got food, steaks, produce, anything that needs to get cold, that's what this is for. Banks like it for data preservation, kind of banks like it that way, maybe to keep the ATMs going. And we're getting some interest from apartment complexes and restaurants and that kind of a thing on this particular inverter, all of which are sort of that middle class at 208 volt. The bigger inverter from that is a 60 kilowatt inverter. And this is, again, a native 3-phase inverter, and it is made for the 480 volt market. So for the 480 volt market, we leave the realm of, grocery store, or we go into the realm of grocery stores, and we leave the smaller buildings, which are the convenience stores and the pharmacies and the banks and little fast food restaurants and these kind of things. So now we're talking about, really grocery stores. You could say 480 volt buildings are all the big box stuff. So, Lowe's and Home Depot and, all this kind of stuff. But, why exactly would Home Depot need batteries? I don't know, the shovels aren't going to go bad. Why would Lowe's need batteries? I don't know. I mean, so you got to have the why. Why does Brookshire Brothers or Albertsons or Kroger's, or in Texas, we have a big chain called HEB. These are all grocery stores. They have high value inventory, just like the pharmacies, right, with the medicine. And so they want to protect that if the grid goes down. So that's what these inverters are made for. I would quickly point out that both of these are high voltage on the battery side. So first time for us leaving the realm of 48 volt, they're high voltage. And we have a number of battery partners, including HomeGrid, that is working on the high voltage battery solution. And we'll partner up with these two inverters and have UL 9540, et cetera. So that's great. And we'll have full communication with those batteries as well. The 30K should be shipping in February. The 60K right here should be shipping in March. As I mentioned before, we kind of, this is the way we look at things. We like spreadsheets. So that on the left side is all of our competitors, kind of everybody in our space, right? SolarEdge, Generac, SMA, AP System, Enphase, everybody's over there, like everybody, like the whole big list. Then if you look at the top, the way this is organized, we have hybrid inverters that are for solar PV and energy storage, right? We have residential low-cost solution with the 5K1P, backup, partial backup, right? Critical loads kind of thing with an 8K or a 12K. If you want to go whole home, we have a 15K. We move over to the C&I side. If it's light commercial, 208 volt, we have a new 30K. If it's bigger 480 volt, we have a 60K. Both of those can stack up to 12 units. So at the 60K, you could almost connect a megawatt of solar, just DC coupling. And you could connect, hundreds of kilowatts on the AC side as well. So you can go big. And then if you keep going, We've got micro inverters coming, which are also 208 volt capable, I would point out. We've got optimizers with rapid shutdown and panel level monitoring. We've got EV chargers. We have all kinds of utility interactive technology going on. And we're looking at wind turbines, fuel cells, and CCHP systems and so forth. So we're always looking to integrate with other solutions. And we want everything you see to be unified from Sol-Ark to where we can say yes to everything. And we're also going to wrap our PowerView solution around this entire offering. So in summary, I guess, we have a very versatile solution. You can use it all kinds of different ways, whether it's on grid or off grid or a retrofit context or a new construction or a new solar system, either way. Very innovative, all-in-one design, super fast, lots of power. It's simple. There's 3 parts to installing a Sol-Ark. You A, mount the Sol-Ark on the wall. You B, wire the Sol-Ark, and you C, program the Sol-Ark. Mount it, wire it, program it. We've got guys that can knock this out. You program it with your fingertip on the color touchscreen. Our system is fast and powerful, best in class technology. As you can see, we like to contrast against the other guys. We do that all the time, and we make sure that our new stuff is the fastest and the most powerful thing coming out. Always, we're trying to make our design smart. We build in all kinds of functionality that helps homeowners and business owners save money, as well as have flexibility to interact with utilities if they so choose. We've got compliance, all kinds of ways, HECO, PREPA, NOM, UL, OpenADR, IEEE, all kinds of certifications, highly certified inverter. And we have world-class customer support. We love everybody, distributors, installers, EPC firms, business owners, homeowners. We don't care who you are. Call us 7 days a week. Email us at support@solark.com. We got your back. So with that, I will say thank you, and I'll hit the escape button there and do that. And I don't know, do I have a stop sharing button somewhere, or how does that work? Am I back to not sharing?
So thank you, David. I'm going to pass it over to Noah over here.
Thank you, Puya.
Welcome, David.
We are. Thank you again, gentlemen. So Nick, you now have access to the screen. You can take us into our next portion of the session.
Awesome. Okay, thanks David and Puya, that was awesome. And thanks Edgar and AE for hosting us today. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, that works.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna just, time-wise, we'll blow through this, but my name's Nick. I'm with HomeGrid Energy. We're a battery manufacturer, and I just today wanted to talk to you guys about who we are, what we do, and why we do it, and how it benefits you. So, like I said, we're HomeGrid. We're a U.S.-based battery manufacturer. We're based in Henderson, Nevada, which is right outside of Las Vegas. It's the south side, a little suburb of that. And we were acquired by a company called Lithion about 2 years ago. And to give you an idea of what Lithion does, they're a battery manufacturer. They're in electric vehicles, robotics. They do construction equipment, medical equipment. They've had some military contracts. They work in the commercial and industrial size battery industry, and they wanted to get into the residential side of things. So that's where we come into play, HomeGrid. And to give you an idea of Lithion's global presence, they were founded in 1998, so they've been around for a little over 20 years now. They have manufacturing facilities in China, Massachusetts, Texas. They also have sales and engineering in Europe, and they're headquartered in Canada, where they also do sales and engineering. And we have our facility in Henderson. We had a 80,000 square foot facility, and we recently just moved into a second 80,000 square foot facility where we will be assembling these batteries. Lithion has strong financial backing partners. They've partnered with TriWest Capital Partners and Koch Industries. And with that financing, we've been able to push extremely hard into the market. We also have been able to acquire a lot of inventory, which kind of sets us apart from a lot of other battery manufacturers in the industry. We can get batteries to our distribution channels within about 2 to 3 weeks, so really pretty quick. And also with the backing, financial backing, obviously AEE vets all the companies that they're working with, and they know that with the financial backing that we have, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So you can know that, we're a company that's gonna be around for a really long time. Some interesting facts about lithium-ion batteries. That's what our battery is. It was proposed as a technology in 1976 by Stanley Whittingham. And a couple years later, John Goodenough, he proposed what the cathode would be made of. And building off of that, Akira Yoshino from Japan, he proposed combining 2 different cathodes. And they kind of went back and forth and built off of each other. And Goodenough proved that it would work in 1983. And then Yoshino built off of that and built a prototype in 1985. And then from that prototype, they were able to do some testing and realize that these lithium-ion batteries could work. And in 1991, Yoshino, in partnership with Sony, commercialized lithium-ion batteries, and they made it into cell phones, computers, laptops, mobile gaming devices, really everything in the world. It pushed out into that. And a couple of years ago, Goodenough, Whittingham, and Yoshino, they actually won a Nobel Prize in chemistry for that. So today, when we talk about lithium-ion batteries, it's kind of an umbrella term. There's actually 7 different chemistries underneath that umbrella. And the 2 most common that you'll hear are NMC, or nickel manganese cobalt, and LFP, lithium iron phosphate, sometimes called a LiFePO. You'll see that. And nickel manganese cobalt, the NMC batteries, they're really prevalent in cell phones, computers, things that you carry around in your pocket. They're very lightweight and they're energy dense, so they make it perfect for those applications. But they do have some issues with thermal runaway. If they get too hot, they can have an issue called thermal runaway where they won't be able to cool down and they light on fire. They also they have a shorter lifespan than some chemistries out there. We've all purchased a phone, and when you first get it, the charge will last, a full day, maybe even longer. But then after a year or so, you're gonna have to charge your phone halfway through the day. That's one of the issues with NMC. So LFP, or the lithium iron phosphate, doesn't have that issue. It doesn't degrade like NMC. It lasts about 2 times longer. It's a lot safer. There's very little risk of thermal runaway, and it's gonna be cheaper up front. Lithium iron phosphate is cheaper. You get more bang for your buck because you're getting more kilowatt hours for the price. But really, the only downside to lithium iron phosphate is that it's a little bit heavy, but it makes it perfect for home storage applications because you're not picking it up every day and moving it around. So that's the chemistry we use in our batteries. It's easy to source, easy to recycle, has a longer lifespan, and it's safe. So we are confident that when we're putting it in people's homes, it's going to be a safe battery. So with that being said, and we see how long it kind of takes for a new chemistry to enter the public domain. Our company was founded, HomeGrid was founded by pioneers and engineering pioneers of lithium iron phosphate. And so our battery is actually the brainchild of theirs. And they looked at the market and they noticed that most batteries on the market had small capacity and small output. They were really designed to offset electricity during peak hours in California. They weren't really meant to back up homes or power an entire home. So they went back to the drawing board and they wanted to create a battery that met expectations of customers and was easy to install for installers. So and they also wanted to use that lithium iron phosphate chemistry, which was safe. So they created the stacked battery. So each one of these stacks that you see is 4.8 kilowatt hours. It starts at 2 stacks and it can go 8 stacks high. And I'm going to exit out of this and actually head to our website, homegridenergy.com. So our battery is modular in design, and it stacks on top of the modules stack on top of each other like Legos. There's no wiring in between. There's a male-female adapter, and hopefully that's playing for everybody. If you want to watch it, you can go to our website. But yeah, so with that capability of just being able to stack on top of each other for installers, it's going to save you money and time. I'm not an electrician, I'm not a battery installer, but I've been able to play around with these, and out of the box, fully commissioned, I was able to set up the battery in an hour. We have some guys that have been installing these for over a year now, and they can do it in about 30 minutes. It's extremely quick. And like I was saying, we wanted to keep the installer in mind when we designed these. So not only is it a quick setup, it's not one chunk, it's modular. So it's extremely easy to bring these batteries anywhere you're going to be installing in a house in pieces instead of one large heavy battery. So the battery starts at 2 stacks and you can go 8 high. And if you wanted to, you can go 15 deep in parallel. So number wise, that's 15 deep in parallel at 8 stacks high. That's around 576 kilowatt hours. But in one stack, you can get 9.6 all the way up to 38.4 kilowatt hours. We also have a 15 kilowatt continuous power surge for our batteries, which is massive. It's also a 300 amp pass through. So with this, you can power an entire home, which most batteries on the market cannot do. We also have a surge of up to 24 kilowatts or 500 amps for 10 seconds. So if there's a lot of things that are dark starting and turning on, it can handle the amount of electricity that you're needing to push. Also, we kept homeowners in mind. Because of its modularity, you could start with 3 or 4 stacks. And if you want to expand your power storage down the road, all you have to do is simply take off the BMS, put more stacks on, recommission, and you have upgraded your battery in less than 30 minutes. So extremely simple install, and its expandability is like nothing on the market. Also, because it's so simple, we don't have a certification course or a university. We have some installation videos. They're about 7 minutes long. We could have made them longer, but we didn't because we didn't need to. There's install guide, a quick install guide, and a manual, and it's really all you're going to need. We have a US-based tech support team, like Sol-Ark. You can call us anytime. You can call me as a point of contact. I can help you with basic troubleshooting. Our tech support team is available via email and phone calls. So I'm going to hop back into this. We have all of the certifications that in the US that are needed for safety. We have the UL 9540 and 9540A. So extremely safe, like I said, and any permitting issues that you're going to run into will not be with our battery because we have those certifications. Like I said, at 2 modules, which is the minimum, you're at 9.6 kilowatt hours, 9.6 kilowatt continuous. But once you get up to 4 stacks, which is 19.2 kilowatt hours, you can get 15 kilowatt continuous or 24 kilowatt surge. So massive output, massive storage capabilities. We are a 48 volt battery, and like Sol-Ark, we are agnostic to whichever inverter you're using. So as long as it's a 48 volt inverter, you can use it with our battery. We like Sol-Ark and we prefer Sol-Ark with our battery because they're really one of the best inverters on the market and one of the only inverters that can really handle the output that we're able to push with our 15 kilowatt inverter. So we do prefer to pair with them, but you can use other 48 volt inverters, you know, Outback, Schneider. There's a list on our spec sheet on our website. And this is a picture of an install on an island. You can literally island yourself and be completely off grid. You know, there's 1, 2, 3, 6 Sol-Ark inverters on that, and I believe there's 10 5-stacks in this install. But it's not just for off-grid applications. This works for suburbia as well. We wanted to be like Sol-Ark. We wanted to be a battery that said yes to any project. We also wanted to be expandable for customers and easy to install for installers. We have a calculator on our website, which will tell you, spit out some numbers on what your basic size of battery is going to be. But this is also a good graph to kind of give you an idea. For 4 hours of backup, 2,000 square foot home, you're going to have a 2-stack with a Sol-Ark 15K. If you want to double that size, you know, a 4-stack. If you want 16 hours, you're going to do an 8-stack. For every additional 1,500 square feet, you're going to add another module. For an air conditioning unit, another module, heating, water heater, well pumps, electric cars, add a module. So it's really pretty simple. And we see battery storage starting to really enter the market. You know, I think that in the past people looked at batteries as kind of like a prepper item, but it really is truly. I think the people are seeing how essential it is in a solar system. It allows you to continue to keep the power on when the grid goes down, and you can truly back up your entire home with this battery, which no other battery on the market can currently do. Also, with some government incentives that have recently been passed, that batteries are now included on that government kickback. So that's another incentive to hop on batteries. So in summary, you know, we're a full home backup solution. 500 amp surge, 24 kilowatt surge for 10 seconds, 15 kilowatt continuous, which is massive. And it allows solar to function without the grid. And we have a 300 amp max charge and discharge, which is about 2 times as more powerful than the next closest battery on the market. Easy to install, easy to customize, super simple field servicing, best in class chemistry. We use that LFP chemistry. It's got a longer lifespan. You know, we have a 10-year warranty, 4,000 cycles, whichever comes first. And to put that in perspective, you know, if you were to discharge the battery 100% for 4,000 cycles, which is what our warranty is, that's a little over 11 years, which means that these batteries can run extremely tough. You know, 11 years, 100% depth of discharge. You know, we're guaranteeing that. So they can work really hard. And we're really expecting these to last anywhere from 15 to 25 years. With that chemistry, very safe, you know, very little risk of thermal runaway, and there's no cycle-based degradation for that. Simple install. You know, for us, it's at most an hour to install our battery and commission it. You have your inverter installation. We actually have close communication with Sol-Ark. There's a presetting in their system that you put in, and that cuts down on a lot of time as well. And then there's also the Savant smart systems that you can put in. You can technically, with our battery, you can eliminate the need for a critical load panel because you can really power the entire electrical panel with it. But you can still also have a critical load with that, or use the smart load breakers that Savant and other companies are putting out. So it's an extremely fast install time, saving you money for labor. And then again, we're a USA-based team, so you can call me or my tech support team anytime for help. And here's my contact information, my cell phone number, my email, and for more information, we offer other batteries as well. HomeGridEnergy.com It's a great source for spec sheets, product information. And if you have questions, don't ever hesitate to ask and reach out. So yeah, thank you. I think we'll start opening it up to questions. I'll turn it back to Edgar.
Perfect. Yeah. So thank you again for the presentation. I think it went really well, and we got some great questions already. And so without further ado, I'll start asking them away. Let's see here.
Good job, Nick.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, very informative.
So a question I see here, what is the current limit on the RSD? Does that sound familiar to any one of you?
Current limit. Puya, do you know that off the top of your head?
What was the question again?
What is the current limit on the RSD?
Oh, well, our 0900, the current limit was in that table that David Parker showed.
14 amps is what it says, Puya. I'm looking at the slide. 14 amps? It says
Yeah.
max current?
Yeah, that would be maybe that's we'll have to get back to, we'll have more information on if that's ISC or IMP, in the coming weeks. As far as other devices, it just depends on the device. I mean, like the Tigo transmitter, it has its own limits for how many strings you can put through a single sense coil, that kind of thing. But yeah, it kind of depends on the device. But if it's the 0900, then yeah, it should have been on that table that you showed.
And Edgar, I'll point out that I can give you our presentation as a PDF. I'll wrap it up and send it to you. You can share it.
Perfect. Appreciate that. All right, the next question I have here is for HomeGrid. What is the maximum altitude for HomeGrid batteries?
So I know that we've tested them at 10,000 feet. So you're safe up to that point. If it's anything above that, you can reach out to me and I can make sure that it's going to work. But yeah, you're good up to at least that high, which is pretty much covers most places in America, at least.
All right, and this one is a combination of both companies here. So for both products, how do they perform in a salty environment? Example, the Gulf or Caribbean islands.
Yeah, just starting out, and I'll let Nick wrap up. We do really well in the islands, and I know that HomeGrid does as well. We've been in Puerto Rico for a long time. We have a number of distributors in Puerto Rico. We sell a lot of inverters in Puerto Rico. The smaller inverters are a little bit more popular than the really big ones, but we do well. And that goes for throughout the Caribbean. U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos, Dominican Republic. I know some inverters going to Haiti, some probably going to Cuba, who knows? I mean, they're all over there. The slide that Nick had was an island that was completely off grid, and that was a great photo. That was a fantastic install. As well as Hawaii. We're super strong in Hawaii and Guam. We do some Department of Defense work over there. So we have a long lineage of saltwater related applications in terms of being near the ocean, and works great.
Yeah, so we're IP55 rated, so we are waterproof and dust proof. We have a stainless steel module that's available if you wanted to install it in an application where there was a lot of salt for corrosion protection. We also have a casing that's coming out that's going to make it NEMA rated. NEMA 3. Basically, it just sits over. There's going to be two of them. There's a 4. It fits up to a 4 stack, and then another one that fits up to an 8 stack, which will completely protect it from any of the elements. There'll be like a breathable frog skin on the back, which will prevent any humidity buildup. And yeah, so with that, you'll be protected from the elements in that way.
Nice, very cool. That basically sums up all our questions for today, which will also sum up this webinar. So thank you again to HomeGrid and Sol-Ark and our speakers today. And thank you for joining us, everyone that did. This presentation has been recorded and will be included on the AE Solar YouTube page. Anyone that has requested the slides, I will get back to you with that once I receive them from the team here. Thank you again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Edgar.